Hi, Eric Linask here. We're here at ITEXPO at the Rio in Las Vegas, and joining me on today's program is Tommy Lee from Snom. Tommy, thanks for being on our program.
Good morning, Eric. Pleasure to be here. Yeah.
So, obviously we've got you've got a long history of in the IP phone market. What's the latest that you're seeing? What are the latest requests, requirements, demands, needs from your audience?
Yeah, the audience, I think with the emergence of voice technology going into this space in both standard SIP as well as more the UC space where there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of other features into it, many endpoints are coming into play in terms of how the voice interfaces to people, in the case of Microsoft Link, you have lots of headset opportunities that take up a good part of the market. But we find that the desktop phone is still very high in demand in terms of applications that it goes into. So for specific applications like hospitals, schools, a lot of cases where there isn't always a PC allocated to an individual, phones really play the main voice interface of it. And based on that, lots of upgrading in terms of networks are concerned. It brings on a lot more performance requirements of the endpoint as well. One of the new things that we're introducing today is the Snom 715, which is really what we call a fundamental phone that provides a lot of the upgraded network features that a lot of the companies are asking for today.
So what are some of those features?
So take, for example, with the 715, you can actually not only, the main part of it is actually raising the Snom 710 up another notch. It's the one phone that you can actually achieve for under $100 end customer price, and then raising that interface from a 10100 to a Gig E. Why? Because when a person buys a phone, they typically have an investment for the next 10 years. It sits there and it does what it does it very well. But at the same time, they're also looking at their future migration of their network, and the last thing they want to have is a small endpoint that brings down their entire network performance down to a knee. So to prevent two things from one, they want to basically have a fundamental phone that has all the latest support and upgrade features as well. In addition to that, it'll also support a lot of the latest BTOE, or what we call Better Together over Ethernet, with respect to Microsoft Link, so that when you incorporate these two pieces together, you end up having a fundamental phone that integrates a lot of the presence features of Microsoft Link as well as all the standard SIP features onto a single phone that has all the latest and greatest without any above the top features that they may not need, and nor do they have to invest in.
How much are you seeing your customers leveraging either customized or more standardized apps developed for IP phones?
I think a lot of it depends on the end user application. What we're finding in a lot of organizations is that for people that use a phone just for standard communication, you can very much use a standard phone in that case. If they want to make a dial to a person or to a party, in that case. But then you have others that are, say, call centers, or in a case where you have boss admin scenarios where you may have one administrator reporting into 5 or 6 managers, and in that case there's very high transfer rates, there's very high what we call in the IP world, they're trying to transfer is the busy lamp field type of look and feel that it puts a whole new demand into it. It's being able to see whether or not the boss or the admin is available on the phone at the time the call is coming in, being able to send things to voicemail. So the traffic is far more intense, and in that case, they'll probably be more settled with a higher model, probably the Snom 720 or 760.
So you mentioned UC and specifically Microsoft Link. Certainly Microsoft has made a pretty good sized splash in the UC market. How much is that impacting your sales?
Well, we find it great. I think from a UC market standpoint, I think it says a lot for Snom in general because partnering with Microsoft, they're very concerned about the end customer experience, of which that being us affiliated with such a basically a high demanding partner that cares about end customer experience, we go through lots of testing to make sure that when the product goes and reaches the customer's hands, we already know at that point in time that the product works. It may be a matter of debugging a lot of the things, or maybe just having a plug-and-play fit, at the end customer site. So I think in general, it has caused a lot of visibility for us. Hopefully we add the same level of visibility in providing solutions for Microsoft as well. So it really is a win-win scenario.
It was only a couple of years ago that there was an awful lot of prognostication, if you will, in the market that you know what, this year is going to see the death of the desk phone.
Yep.
Clearly that hasn't happened. You and several others in the market are faring quite well. What has sort of caused the resurgence of the desk phone, and I don't see it going away anytime in the near future.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned earlier, there are many different endpoints that fit a lot of different applications, and in some applications, things other than a desk phone might be able to fit for those things. But when when a person calls a party, so say for example, if you were to say contact, a local pizzeria to call pizza, do you see the person taking the orders and the calls, passing through a mobile phone, or perhaps sharing a particular earpiece and things like that? That may not be a perfect fit. What you find there is a common node where a person calls a party. Many times in healthcare organizations or even retail, there's so much rotation within the staff, so that if someone calls the automotive department within a Target store or something like that, people tend to pick up what available node it is to pick things up, and in that case, people don't tend to pass around what I call personal devices, than they are sort of a public device at that area. So you're kind of calling an entity versus a person. If most of your calls contact a person, then that will work very fine. But when you're calling an entity, I think a desk phone is really it's still the platform to beat in delivering voice in that case. So.
What do you see as the next improvements or enhancements to desk phones in general?
I think spending quite a bit of time in a desk phone space, I receive a lot of requests for applications. And in the case of most desk phones, a lot of them are, even though they may use a generic operating system, we program all of our phones in Linux, for example. But say if one were to adopt probably a more higher level operating system in the future, perhaps maybe even like Android, those type of things, where I see a lot of people touching bases and seeing all the different types of operating systems being used. In that case, there's a far more programmers out there that are willing to build these specialized apps to meet the customer's needs,
And vertically focused, I would imagine.
Exactly. They say, oh, I need something to do exactly this, whereas in kind of the today's flavor of phones, it requires a lot of developments on us or alternative people providing phones to do it, whereas if it comes in a more generic application, then a lot of others can actually come in and say, hey, I built this great app, why don't you take a look at this? And they can develop a license fee for their compensation on those applications that may fit for them, and it's a win-win scenario in that case. So.
Certainly can see healthcare, hospitality, retail
That's right.
as three of the top markets for things like that.
Correct. And if you develop something that works for one model, then in essence you develop an application that works for all the models that fit in that category. Instead of being 75% off, now you bring it down to like 95%, and then you just kind of home in on the last pieces, So that's kind of where things are going, but I don't necessarily see, the desktop phone going away soon,
Excellent. Great. Tommy, thanks so much for being on the program today.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.